Good morning and welcome. It's been a while since you have seen me, and also Joe. I used to live in Georgia. That's where Joe and I used to record together, and now I'm no longer there. I'm currently in Florida. But I want to say that I enjoyed the time I was with Joe. He's a wonderful friend. He's my brother. We have done a lot together. We have learned and taught you all who've been following us on YouTube about God. And he was sharing his perspective, and I was sharing the Torah. As you all know, this is what I teach, the Torah, which is the Old Testament, and what does Moses brought down from Mount Sinai for how the Jews live their life. Now, everyone knows that everything we know about God comes from Moses, from Mount Sinai, okay? Everything we know. It doesn't matter what religious background you're from, everything we know about God comes from the Jewish people. They are the source. And this is why I teach from the Torah perspective, the Old Testament, so that way we are getting information from the source, not secondhand information, okay? Also, I want to, this is called Bitachon. Bitachon means trust in God, confidence in God. When you have confidence, why do we have confidence? We have confidence because we know something. This is why we confidence about whatever it is that we confidence about, is because we have knowledge of that information, and because we possess that knowledge, we are confident. Also, this year, this teaching, I'm dedicating it to Alternice Mays. She was a special person to me. She was actually someone I fell in love with. She was my soulmate that God has given me, and we only known each other for a short period of time. And she passed away last Monday, and it's been devastating for me. But she was truly my soulmate. We mesh very well in our character and the way we were. And the most wonderful thing about her that made her so unique and special for me was that she loved the Torah, the Old Testament. And when I used to talk to her about it, teaching her about it, she would always say she get goosebumps, and she felt so good to hear the word of God. And it was our plan for us to learn together, but God decided to take her away for whatever reason. And we know whatever God does is good. But I can honestly say I have been searching for this type of woman all my life, and she met the qualities that God says a woman should have. She had met pretty much all those qualities. I was still getting to know her, and the more I got to know her, the more comfortable, and I saw that the word of God is true in her. And as I said, she was really special, and I'm going to miss her. And I dedicate this year, this teaching to her merits, that it will help elevate her in the next world, which is now she's with God. And again, so she was priceless to me. We had plans, to live a life together. But again, we all make plans. It doesn't mean that plans are gonna go according to what we want it to be. If anyone who's alive long enough know that plans don't necessarily, or most of the time, does not happen. But again, it's heartbreaking to know that I have to go on without her, because I was waiting for her for a very long time for her to come. But the one thing I can say out of that experience is that I got to experience my soulmate. I got to experience true love, what it meant. And I was able to see that in her eyes. And it's hard, but I try not to think about it. But I got to, how many people can actually say they met their soulmate and they experienced this love? And, most people, they divorce, they hate one another, whatever the case may be. But I was able to get that. I was able to get what I've been praying for pretty much all my life, to meet my soulmate, to fall in love, to experience this unique love that the Torah talks about. I was able to get that from her, and she was able to get that from me as well. So we both were able to get what we've been praying for. And she was waiting for this for 16 years, waiting for me to come along. Obviously, I was waiting for her as well, and God was able to allow us to meet. Now, why in a short period of time? I only known her for about almost 2 months, and with those 2 months was an incredible experience. When I tell you, this is an experience I will never ever forget, because now I understand. I've actually experienced what it means to be in love, what real love was. And I saw that every time I looked into her eyes, I was able to see that and feel that through her actions. It wasn't verbal, it was her action that showed how much she loved me and mine as well. And I knew that all her friends and family members said that they've never seen her how happy she ever been. And that goes for me as well. I was very, very happy. But again, why God took her, most of the time, sometimes I can only speculate, but one of the reasons God takes people is because their mission is over here. We all come to this world with a mission. Once we complete that mission, there's no need for us to be here. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. When it was time for Moses to die, God told Moses it's time to come home. And Moses would plead with God and says, no, 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 I want to stay and do more for you. And God says, Moses, your work here is done. I don't need you in the world anymore. Come home. You came here to do something. Now your assignment is over. Come home. And that's when Moses passed away. But he wanted to stay. But God made it clear, your assignment is over. It's time to come home. So I can only say for Altrinice Mays, the love of my life, my soulmate, her assignment was over and God took her and she went peacefully. And this is to her merit. I will miss her for as long as I live. But the good news for me that helped me is understanding that God allowed us to find one another. So this is what I'm dedicating this particular series to, and we need to have this bitachon, meaning confidence in God, because life is difficult. We're going to struggle in this world. This world is not what we think it is. We've been taught the opposite, and this is why it's so hard for us when we casualty, when things has happened to us and we don't know how to deal with it. It's very difficult. It's very painful, and some people can just completely lose their entire life, lead in a complete opposite direction because they lost what they thought was going to be around, just like I did. I thought I was going to have 25 years with Altrinice, at least 30 years working and developing this marriage, this relationship that we're willing to put together. But God said no for whatever reason. So obviously, I'm still here, meaning that my mission is not over. Now, the beauty about this, to what helped me understand and cope with her passing, her going to the next world to God, is understanding this. People, we don't hardly talk about what heaven is like. So to give you an idea, is this: imagine all the people who ever live, okay, whoever lived before us, and all the people who live in today, 8 billion people, and all the people that will live after we leave this world. Imagine you take all of their good experience, whether it was food, whether it was intimacy, or happy the child was born, or they were happy they got married, they got a promotion, they won the lotto, whatever it was that was joy and happiness. Imagine you take everybody happiness and you put into that one pill, everybody happiness into that one pill, and it's not equal to 0.001% of joy that people are going to experience in heaven. So, therefore, what helps me understand is that I cannot give her what she's experiencing now in heaven. Because why? Think about it. Everybody who ever lived before, people who are living today, was 8 billion people, and everyone's going to live afterward. You take all of their joy and happiness, put into that one pill, does not equal to what we can give anyone here. So you see, this helps me to understand, and this is something that we need to understand. When someone dies, you cannot give them that kind of happiness they're going to experience unless you can collect everybody who ever lived, their joy and happiness, put into that one pill, which is 0.001%, and you give it to them for them to experience that happiness they're going to experience in heaven. So having said that, again, I want to say thank you to her and her family, that they were wonderful people, and she has completely changed my life for the time she was in it, for the short period of time. I've been transformed to another type of being again, because we're constantly learning. But she was truly a magnificent, wonderful woman. And I just want to say that. So for other family members that may be watching, also, this is a merit to her as well. For all of us who's going to learn from this Shurim, this teaching, to help us cope in this world. Also, as I said, Joe, wonderful friend, brother of mine, we still in contact. And then, but again, it was wonderful the time we spent together. Now God has moved me to another assignment. I'm somewhere else. Because God, as long as you're in this world, there's work for you to be done. It's not over yet. So God sent me somewhere else. Now I have to continue the teaching to help those of you who are following to understand the way God runs this world. And there are four things that everyone needs to know in this world. If nothing else, these four things is a must. If we don't have these four things, life here is going to be very difficult. The suffering, the tragedy that can follow because we don't understand these four laws, these four principles God put into this world. Meaning that just like if you jump in the air, gravity, that's a rule. We can't change that. Day and night, the sun up and sun down, day and night, we can't change that because these are laws God put in this world, physical laws. So he also put spiritual laws here too. But we don't know what these spiritual laws are because we don't read the Old Testament. We don't follow Moses to understand, or we were not taught this from day one. This is things we should have learned as a 5-year-old or less what this means. If you can understand this and you get this, this is going to change your life forever. The life here is going to be transformed from whatever it is you are now is going to become paradise. But this does not happen overnight. It's going to take time. Bitachon means trust in God. When someone trusts in something, it's because they have knowledge and they know it's to be true. So when you have knowledge about something to be true, guess what? Any kind of unknown, mystery, or unsure is gone. You confidence in what you know. So that's a great comfort in that. Now I'm confident in that knowing Trini's maze is with God now. You see, I'm confident with that. And I know this Shuim is also going to go to her merits to help elevate her soul as well. So I'm confident this is the greatest gift anyone can give someone who dies, who passed away. And it says in the Jewish Torah that the Old Testament, when someone passed, is going to they have a trial for 1 year on trial, a court of heaven, and then you have to pray for these people for that 1 year. God will show favor for these people when they stand before God. So again, this is vital for us to understand this. Now again, what is confidence? What is it meant by knowing something is true? I know God is running this world, and this is something that we don't seem to really register. We're thinking it's the government, it's my friend, it's my neighbor, it's my boss, it's the lawyer, it's somebody other than God who's controlling over our lives. That is completely heresy. That is false. No one is running your life. The only person that is running this world is God. It says, Eino Vada, meaning that there is nothing but God. And we need to learn this from day one as children. When we understand it's not anyone who is running this world, it is God. Whatever is being happening to you, God is allowing it to happen to you. It's not the people doing it to you. Then we need to understand. That's something that everyone needs to understand. For example, if you look at a dog and you take a stick and you start hitting the dog is not trying to bite the person who's hitting him with the stick. The dog is trying to bite the stick. The dog thinks it's the stick that's hitting them. Guess what? We all know it's not the stick that's hitting the dog. It's the person using the stick to hit the dog. And this is what I mean by that. The people you think is doing things to you, event, we think it's the stick. The event, the people, is the stick. So who's hitting us? God. God is using people, event, environment, storm, hurricane, the weather, whatever it is, to hit us. Because why is he hitting us? He's trying to get our attention because we are going the wrong way. And this is how God talks to all of us. Because why? We are not holy enough for God to speak to us directly like Moses. He stopped doing that. So he has to talk through us through events that are happening in our lives. Now, to best understand how much control God have over this world, I want you to think about a leaf. A leaf will ask God, can I fall now? God says no. The leaf on a tree says, can I fall now, God? God says no. The leaf on the tree said, can I fall now, God? God says no. The leaf said, can I fall now? God says no. And the leaf said, okay, God, I will wait for you to tell me when I can fall off. You see, this is how precise, how much control God has. It's not people. And also to show you another control God has over is, let's look at Job. Job is also another example to show who is running this world. It's not the Satan. It's not the Satan, okay? He doesn't have that kind of power. Job, the Satan had to go to God to ask permission to do what he did to Job, what he did, okay, to Job. So again, this is something we all need to understand. The basic foundation. There are 4 laws we're going to learn, and we're going to see how to apply this through this series. This series may last for a couple of months, but again, if you pay attention to this and you learn this, I'm telling you, your life is going to change. Anything that's hurtful that comes into your life is not going to hurt you the way it's hurting you now. As a matter of fact, it's going to completely disappear. You're not going to see it that way. Why? Because when you understand who's running this world, everything changes. All you need to do is wondering why God is allowing this to happen. This is where you come in at, because He is controlling everything. Nobody has control, not the government, not Trump, not Biden. No one has control. Matter of fact, it says leaders lose control. The only control they have is under their own personal life. And how do I show that and prove that? Look at Pharaoh of Egypt. When Moses went to him, God said, I took away his free will. How did he take away his free will? He hardened his heart. Every leader in the world, they are not the one in control. God is controlling them. They are nothing more than a puppet. You're thinking, oh, it's Trump doing this, it's Biden doing this. Listen, you're on the wrong path, okay? God is doing it, not them. They are the stick, and God is the one using them to hit us, okay? They simply are a stick, a tool God used to get us, the nation, the people, understanding He's running the world. So you should not be afraid of any government or politics or anyone, because thinking that they're not running anything, okay? So it says now, so now what happens to people is this. Why do people who's been married for 10, 15, 20 years and one of the spouse die, and they themselves 3 months later they die? We all heard that probably before. They were married for 25 years. Now the wife is gone, and then 3 months later find the husband dead in the house by himself. What causes that? Why is that happening? Why do they die all suddenly? Well, we could say it is loneliness, or they really love their spouse, and this is why they died, right? They really love them. They can't live alone, or again, they really miss them, which again, I felt that, to be honest with you. So I understand now what it feels like to lose someone you really love. It's hurt. It's heart treachery. It's like you feel you don't want to be here anymore, that there is no more reason why you're here anymore, because what's the point? And I did experience that, and it does feel like that. But again, when you have Bitachon, confidence, and trust in God, and you understand what's happening here, that change your mindset, and you understanding that death is not what it is or what we think it is, because we all want to believe what it is because different religion teachings different things, but that's not the case, okay? So now it says, why don't other people die sooner, and so-called why some people who their spouse died after 20 years and they're still alive for another 15, 20 years. Why is that? How come they lived that long? Well, was it really love? If it was just roommates, they were there for 20, 25 years, they don't really have feelings. Why are they still alive? Why didn't they die right after their spouse, okay? So again, those could be other explanations why they're still alive, because they might not have been a true love connection there, is why they're still alive. They don't feel the pain, the suffering, the agony of that person, because, well, think about it. You're not going to suffer if you did not love somebody. Even if you live with them, you're not going to suffer if they die. You may feel bad, but you're not going to suffer. So the other explanation, which is I love the most, which is the only one, is Bitachon. Bitachon is confidence, that people understand these are the righteous men, the Jewish men understand, because I said, how come they didn't die when their spouse died? because that's what we've seen people today happening. 3 months later, they die once their spouse leaves as well. How come these men, not only they did not die, they went on to get married again and have a whole different family? Because they understand what I'm going to teach you today is why they can move on with their life, create a whole new family, and move on with their life again. Because why? They have Bitachon, trust, confidence in God that He's running the world, and they understand these four basic principles I'm going to teach you today, and we're going to continue learning this throughout the series. So, why don't other people die as soon as they are? Is it truly there was no love and the heartbreak? So there, since there's no heartbreak, so they don't feel the pain of the loss of that person because I didn't really love that person. So let's look at an example of where bitahon comes in, confidence and trust in God. Okay, we're going to look at Abraham and Job. Look at Abraham. He did not die after Sarah, and he was married to Sarah for 139 years, I think. Well, think about it. You've been with someone for 139 years, your soulmate, and she happens to, you come home and you find her dead on the ground. And what do? You don't cry. You go and find a grave site for her and you bury her and you mourn for 3 days and that's it. And then you go on with your life. How is that even possible? How can you go on with your life after 3 days of mourning and then you start a whole new family again and remarry start? How is that possible? Why are you not dying like everybody else? Because they understand why they are here. We all here have a mission, and she completed her mission, and he still have a mission as well. But again, the most important thing is that be town trust in God. There is a plan, and we have to follow and understand. Once we understand this, it's going to make more sense to you as we continue why they don't die. Because again, as I said, because they understand what God wants from them is why they don't just wither up and die like everybody else and then go to heaven to be with their wife. Okay? So it says now also Yaakov, his love of his life, where he worked for, I believe, 20 years, I believe, 12 to 24 years, I believe he worked to get her. He was cheated out of her. And then, yes, the love of his life, she happened to die too, and he continues living. How come he doesn't die right away? Again, because, again, I'm sure I want to make sure I have the right people I'm talking about. But again, just to give you an idea, and the whole concept behind that is why these men don't die right after 3 months after their wife, the one they love, and they've been waiting for their soulmate, and they happen to die. They don't die and they go on with their life. How is that even possible? Again, Bitahon, trust in God is why. And they just mourn for 3 days and they can move on. What makes them so powerful? Why are they able to do that? Of course, we're going to learn that. So it says here, sometimes when people die, we think we could have done something different. We could have saved them. And a lot of us go through that. Maybe I should have done this. Maybe I should not have said this. Maybe I knew I should have intervened sooner. Listen, that is not true. There's nothing you could have done. Of course, there's always exception to the rules. But again, it is something that you need to understand. This is the first thing you need to understand about that is that every year God going to judge us. Once a year, God judge the whole world and judge everybody. And the way he judges us every year is how did we behave the year before? The year before will determine what will happen to us the following year. Okay, our behavior will determine how God will judge us the following year. So every year, Rosh Hashanah is a year that God judged the world and judge everyone. Are they going to live? Or are they going to die? Are they going to have wealth or are they going to lose their wealth? Are they going to have their job or are they going to lose their job? Are they going to have their health or not? Are you going to have a child this year or not? Are you going to be married or divorced? Of course, we do some of those things, but again, he just, are you going to be homeless or are you going to get a home? You see, so every year, everything that's happening in your life, everything you can think about it, you're going to get headache. How many headaches you're going to have? How much money you're going to have in your pocket for that year? Everything, how much you're going to lose. Are you going to get a flat tire? You're going to get sick. You're going to lose a limb. Whatever it is, you're going to be judged. And what's happening to you is because of your previous behavior is why it's happening to you today. So as you can see, it's starting to make more sense that these are happening because every year I'm being judged for my action from the previous year. Now it says now the judgment is every year. Now it could be death, money, lose or gain, marriage, children, job, everything you could think about that happens to people that is disappointing or that is good is going to be judged on that day. That's going to happen to you for the following year. Okay. So again, these righteous men, they also understood that. Okay. Again, we're building up to where we're going with this. So why you do the previous year will determine what's going to happen to you. Now, what are the 4 laws, God's spiritual laws, that we're not aware of, we're not taught, that God implement in this world? We know the physical laws, night and day. What goes up comes down, right? We understand that, right? So we understand, but do we understand the spiritual laws God has in this world? Everybody understand death. Everybody understand pain, disappointment. We all understand that. So let's get through it and see what's going on. Now, God has 4 laws he has in this world will happen whether we like it or not, whether we believe in it or not. But I'm going to show you, you're going to see that in your life and everyone else's life as well. It's not just that, you know what, that's not true. Everything I'm saying, you're going to see it for yourself, okay? So the first law is that God says fear. We all live with fear around the clock. Some say, well, that's not true. I don't live with fear. Well, are you fear the IRS? When you're driving fast and you see the highway patrol, do you slow down? Do you fear your kids might get sick? Do you fear someone might rob you? Do you fear you might lose your job? Are you fear you don't get the promotion? Do you fear your husband might be cheating on you? Your wife might be cheating on you? Or they may leave you? Do you fear that you may never get married or never have children or never, or, you know, the list goes endlessly, as you can see. You see? Or that someone, you know, my mother might die, my father might die, my child might die, you know, or I get fired, so, or I get sick. You know, it goes on, endless. We all live with that fear. But the problem is, we don't live with the fear of fearing God, the one who is hitting us with that stick. All we see is the stick, like the dog. We're not seeing it is God that is hitting us. And this is where our attention needs to go to. Who is doing this to me? God. Why is this happening to me? God. Now, this is where fear comes in, as we're going to talk about Job. If you know the story of Job, he lost everything. And one of the reasons behind that, Job had fear of losing. One of the biggest fear rich people have is losing their money. People have money, that's their biggest fear. People have power, that's their biggest fear. They fear of losing that. I don't know if you remember, it says during the time of the Great Depression, many people lost their wealth, and a lot of people was committing suicide. Why? Because their bitachon, their trust was in their money. Okay, their trust was in the money, and because their trust was in the money, and they lost it, and they took their life. You see? So again, when you have fear, God says, whatever you have fear of, because you fear everything but me, I'm going to make that thing you're afraid of happen to you. It is a sin for you to be afraid of anything else but God. That's number 1 rule. Whatever you're afraid of, God is going to make that happen to you. That's what happened to Job. He was afraid of losing his money, losing his children, losing his wealth, losing his comfort, losing his health. All those things he was afraid of losing, he lost. And even his wife says, why pray to this God? Now, this is something beautiful what Job, this is where Job showed how beautiful he was. Job was a Gentile, and Job said, am I to praise God only when he gives me? I have to praise him even when he takes, because God gives and he takes. This is his world. He's the creator. I am the creation. So he understood what his place was, and he understood where these things coming from, and he understood who was doing it to him. It wasn't the Satan. It wasn't bad luck. He did not know the market was going up. Like some people say, oh, I knew when to invest. I was smart. I got in the right time. or I bought these properties at the right time, or I got in this job in the right time, or I got this shidduch, this wife or husband at the right time. You're thinking, you're attributing your success to your ability. Wrong. God had already decided that a year prior to give you those things. So Job understood God is the one that gives and takes. So because he understood that is why Job was not weeping, he wasn't hurt, and he wasn't falling apart because he understood. He says to his wife, God gives, God takes. It's his. He's the creator. So when you grow up with that understanding, imagine from 5 years old and you at the age now, you understand that principle so perfectly. Guess what? No matter what thing that happens to you, it won't budge you. It won't bother you. You see, automatically 90% of your worries or trouble is gone, probably 100%, because when you understand who is controlling and who's doing what to you. And Job understood that, but his wife did not. That's why she was angry. That's why she would say something that foolish, which she would suffer for it. And also his friends said foolish thing, and they were punished for what they said as well. So again, because Job understood these concepts, these four concepts that your fear, who gives God, who takes God, he's the creator, I'm the creation. What's ever happening to me is allowing it to happen to me. Job understood that. And this is why he didn't curse God. That's why he didn't get angry. That's why he didn't fall apart when he had 10 kids. Imagine all 10 of your kids just die, just like that. Who could survive something like that? Someone who has Bitachon, someone who trusts in God is the only person who can maintain his composure, his character, understanding. Because why? He has confidence, trust. God is the one running the world. If he took it, that's his. That's his. He can do whatever he wants to do with it. My only job is to listen and follow his instruction. And that's what the Old Testament is all about. People who are not following and people who are following his instruction. So that is the thing. Fear is a sin. We fear everything. And only God we need to fear. There is nothing else. En novada. En novada means there is nothing else but God. So meaning that you don't need to be afraid of anything but God. Because why? God is allowing these things in the world to happen to you. So if you fear God, then he will remove those things. He will not let them happen. Again, this is God. He has his reason. If you understood God, you would be God. When what God does, it will never be logical to us because we're not God. Our logic will never match up with God. And if you look at the Old Testament, there's so many things that happened that did not make sense, but at the end, salvation came for all these people. But you need to understand, there's going to be trial, there's going to be tests, there's going to be suffering. This is part of it. So part one, you have to fear God.